Jim, thanks for being on the show today, much appreciated. Anyone that doesn't know you, can you give us a little bit of information about yourself?
Well, I've been doing polar exploration for 34 years now. I've got all my fingers and toes. I suppose I'm the least known explorer probably in the world, really. I've been in the background for
Too modest, Jim.
huge expeditions, and I've been Ranulph Fine's polar consultant for 15 years now, and the person in the background, really. But yeah.
Tell us a little bit about before you became the Iceman, the Ice Warrior. What background, say from school onwards, briefly, what have you done?
Well, I got into this because I was a naughty boy at school,
Yeah.
and they sent me on an outward bound course, so I'm a product of the old-fashioned outward bound where there were no females on a course or anything like that, and they were trying to break you and put you back together, really. And it was a course in the middle of winter, 3 weeks up in the mountains, freezing cold.
Yeah.
You had a melt water shower in the morning, or leapt in the tarn, and it was freezing. Make a man out of your stuff, really.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But I just loved it. It was like James Bond, a license to kill, really.
License to Kill.
Yeah.
Been a bit of a thrill seeker in past life.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, measured. Thrill seeker. Yeah.
Organised.
Yeah,
thrill
I always
seeker.
say to people that I train, actually, push your boundaries as much as you can, but don't leap over them.
It's something I adhere by. I think I leapt over and once, hurt myself, and thought, no, best not do that. Just get to it and gently push it away. So,
Yeah, that's right.
that's really great. Okay, so past experiences before you were the Ice Warrior, what sort of jobs did you do?
Well, I started life as an environmental scientist, working on the depletion of the ozone layer in
Makes sense,
Antarctica as a result of agricultural practices. So, really interesting, really leading edge work for the 1980 it was. I worked for an eminent scientist and ended up writing 3 scientific papers. So
Sounds like a high-flying, high-paid sort of job, is it?
well, it wasn't high paid, no, and I was lowest of the low. They had
Okay.
to grade me up because of the work I was doing, which was
Okay.
great. And I wanted to continue that work, but I couldn't because they wanted me to go back to college
Yeah.
and get a degree and a second degree and what have you. And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. It
I
involves
think-
being stuck inside, so it's
Yeah, and life's too short for wasting time, and I've never been one to waste time, and I thought I would waste a lot of time doing that. So I was a mountaineer, right from the age of 16, teaching people how to mountaineer and climb and what have you. So I thought, I had a family at the time, one child and a wife, and I thought, how can you best be paid for being a mountaineer? And the best way then was to join the army, so I did exactly that. So,
how long was you in the army for?
well, a short but sweet, very sweet.
Okay.
So I went in on an experimental intake. I had the best of it. I was on skis most of the time and creating nasty exercises for people that came up to Norway on Arctic survival training.
So you started off with skis, so is that where Arctic exploration for you, or polar exploration, started for you? Is that...
Yeah, the military were the first people to take me into the Arctic Circle. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they taught you the basic skills at the start?
Well, yeah, and I almost immediately started teaching other people. So,
That's really great.
So I was an Arctic survival instructor right from the go, really.
Would you say it's the best way to really test your skills, if you've learned something, is to teach someone else?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you can convey to someone else properly and get them to learn off you, then you must know it yourself. It's as simple as that.
Makes absolute sense.
In the fire brigade, they call it cascade training. So
you was in the fire brigade as well?
Yeah, that's right. I did my military service. I then went out into commercial thing. I retrained in marketing communications, got a paper qualification in that from somewhere or other, I can't remember what, and very quickly I was earning a 6-figure salary at the end of the 80s. So
wow.
But then I gave up all
money,
that.
That's
Well, yeah, but I gave up all that one Monday to join the fire service at 14.5 grand, I think it was at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been difficult financially. What mentality, what was you thinking at the time to get you through that? Because you've gone from 6 figures to 14,
I suppose I've always been one to move on once I think I've got the T-shirt and done it because life is too short. And I'm motivated throughout my life by making it as worthwhile as possible. And so marketing communications, was limited in, its contribution to humanity, if you like.
Yeah.
So, so I wanted something that was contributing more, making my life worthwhile. Sounds corny, but that's true.
No. Having known you for a few years, all the marketing and analytics stuff doesn't sound like the Jim I know, but if that's how you started, then that's great. So you must have picked up some great skills whilst being in the military and in the fire brigade, like leadership-wise. How does one lead a team of people into harrowing, awful situations to save someone else's life? I mean, what sort of skills you need to bring to the table for that?
I think it's all about the way you train people and the respect that you have from them, I suppose. I'm someone that leads from the middle in a consultative manner, up until the point in time where someone's life becomes at risk or someone's life becomes in danger, in which case I take over from the front if I'm the person that knows about that situation. So in a fire situation, I always am the leader. If in a road traffic accident situation, I used to be the leader, and nowadays, in expeditionary terms, because I've got 34 years of experience of doing it, I tend to be the leader. So in those sort of critical crisis moments, but it's about working out the what ifs in any scenario, in any life form, and really thinking about them. I suppose if I've got an attribute that is pretty good, I suppose, if I'm going to blow my own trumpet, it's my imagination. I can imagine anything and everything that will go wrong with a certain situation, and I run through it in my brain. I run through it for me, as in a leadership capacity, really, with people I don't know, never seen before, or with a team that I'm trying to train to dig people out of cars before they expire, sort of thing.
So running multiple scenarios in your head.
Yeah.
So if one of them plans out, you've kind of already lived it, so you kind of know what to do. So.
And that's what we do with the training, as you know. It's scenario-based training, so we practice for the worst case scenarios. People breaking legs, people getting hypothermia, people getting hyperglycemic. We practice for those situations so that it becomes automatic when that situation arises.
Before we move on to Ice Warrior, that's why we've got you on today. You've been doing Arctic exploration for 34 years, plus military, plus fire service. I know you're not a risk-averse sort of person, but you're very good at calculating risk. How has your ability to calculate risk changed from where you first started to now? Are you just as cautious back then as you are now?
Yeah, I was really, which is why I've got all my fingers and toes.
That makes sense.
It is about pushing your boundaries, but there is no limit to how much you push them, just don't leap over them. So, I spent many tens of thousands of pounds doing my homework. I'm a person that does my nth degree of homework, and getting out into the polar regions very often on a solo basis, or with a few friends that I just gather together, and doing it and learning from it. And that learning process, by the way, doesn't stop. I constantly learn things every time I go out there, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, which is what it's all about, really. So you've got to keep an open mind, and you've got to be very empathetic to how people feel in the situation that you put them through, and react to that as well, and empathetic to yourself. Your feelings, your moods. We're all human. We're all frail. We've all got fallibilities. We're all fallible. We can all make mistakes. And I think the more you are aware of that, and the more you accept that, the more effective you are, really.
Is that a type of leadership skill you've learned over the years, or is that something you use when you're in the military? Because effectively, military, if you're leading people into a scenario where potentially you could have to take life, that takes a certain sort of skill. Explain a little bit about that.
Well, there's often a style change. With your fire brigade team, your hairy backsided firemen, and your machoistic military people. But there's a style change that makes a difference, really. You know, I've never been one to change my style, but I get it across in a slightly different way. And people, I think, within those sort of areas, you know, appreciate the difference. I give a lot of corporate talks, and you know, the head of corporations, you know, bang on about leadership this, leadership that, the 10 ways to manage your team. Very often they forget about the personal bits. Yeah. And to me, the best leaders have an empathy with their team. They are kind, which is a word that corporations will never use. Yeah. Because it is a sign of weakness, which is absolutely not in my experience. And you know, they'll be totally respected, admired and liked for that.
Is that a strong aspect to lead a group of people, to be respected obviously, but then also liked? There's a difference between respect and liked, isn't there? So do you agree that, you know, in your position you kind of have to make yourself the liked person?
Yeah, I don't think it's something that you consciously do. I think if you do that, you become a bit of a softie, if you like. But if you are a good person, if you display 100% reliability, if you are, if integrity is the best thing since sliced bread, which it is for me, you know, I would never compromise my integrity. If you are a good egg, that rubs off, and you know, if you're not afraid to tell them, you know, okay, I've got 34 years, but I can make mistakes. And if I make a mistake, I want you to watch out for me. You know, so you know, it's sharing, it's wearing your heart on your sleeve, it's those sort of things that I found really effective and powerful in a leadership role.
Yeah, I absolutely understand it and believe it. Having been under or serving next to you for a few years now, I absolutely understand your style of leadership, and it really does work. The teams that we've been in together, there's so many diverse people in it, and you've got a really effective way of leading different people, different walks of life. So actually,
shucks, thank you.
Second hand, it's fantastic. So the reason I asked you to come on today is a lot of us here will know you are Jim McNeill, the Ice Warrior. But for those out there that don't know about Ice Warrior, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Ice Warrior is really what I suppose that the manifestation of what inspired me. Yeah. When I went on Outward Bound, 16 years old, I was inspired to read a book, and it's the first time I've ever read a book from cover to cover. 16 years old, not very good, really, is it? No. And I went to a reasonable school, not a public school, or just a state school, but a good state school. But it inspired me. The stories of you know, the old explorers not knowing where they were going and not knowing how long they were going for or what they'd face. Extraordinary stories. And I picked up a book, and I haven't stopped reading those books nowadays. So I do that. And I thought in 2001, when I was working as fire officer for the Royal Household and a road traffic accident specialist for Berkshire, I thought, how can I form some sort of project that puts something back? And I thought, if you copied the heroic era but put it in the modern day setting, what have you got? You've got all those people from all echelons of society, all walks of life, with all sorts of skill set, put them together in a team that starts off being disparate, completely disparate, and then, you know, making them into a cohesive team that can go and do modern day exploring. So Ice Warrior is all about these people getting together, volunteering. They each are tasked with going out, raising the funds for their contribution. You can't pay for this. You can't just open your checkbook and go, here Jim, here's your £20,000 or whatever it costs. You have to go out and raise that sponsorship, because those sort of characteristics, the courage, the ingenuity, the braveness, and you know, putting up with the frustrations, the flexibility and the attitudes, they're the ones I want in a good expedition team.
It's a good way of vetting people from the start, isn't it? So
if
you can get through sponsorship, then you've probably got what it takes to get through the expedition. So.
Exactly right. So it's about three things really. It's about development of people, it's about discovery of change, and that's incredibly important, and that takes me back to my scientific days. Yeah. And you know, our scientific partners are the best in the world as well, which is incredibly lucky. to have them guide us in as much as they tell us what data to gather that is interesting to them, and what the overall effect of gathering that data will be. And some of it's really groundbreaking, which is fantastic. And then it's about delivering the stories, each and everybody's story, because Ice Warrior is about the people. Delivering those stories in the best possible way we can to engage others in the problem that the humanity has in surviving on this planet. And
it is absolutely true. As corny as it sounds, it is effectively saving the species. So.
Well, that's what we're about. The planet will survive. The question is, will we?
Exactly.
Or will we do ourselves in? We don't, for example, apply the technology that we know and have known for some years now to best effect. Commercial aspects interfere with that application, and so do political aspects. We've got to be more intelligent about our approach to living on this planet.
Absolutely. I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. I've got 2 more questions to ask. You talked earlier a little bit about books. I'm an avid reader now. Like yourself, it took me till probably 1920 before I realised that books were made for learning. Have you got any recommendations, or is there a book that you frequently give out?
No.
Okay,
no, not really. I would say read any book, but read it with open eyes. When I first started reading those books of daring do, I did question some of the things that they said there. And, people are disposed to spin, I suppose, and bluffing it, and the more years you do these sorts of things, the more you can see how much they know and what they're talking about in perhaps not as knowledgeable fashion as they might put over. So
don't take everything as gospel. Do your own research.
Don't take everything. Do your degree of research. That's what you do.
Okay.
And read lots.
Like that. Final question, which I'm going to ask all interviewees. What 3 things could I do, or us as an audience do, over the next week to become a mini version of you, if you like? What 3 things could we do?
God forbid.
To approach becoming a polar explorer? What could we do today that could put us on that path?
Find out about yourself.
Okay.
And there's no better way of doing that than to subject yourself to Mother Nature at her worst. Because that delivers a head of pressure where there is no room for bluff, there is no room for the delusions that we all have. There's no room for extending the truth and petty politics and all that. It brings you down to knowing yourself. So the first really most important thing to do, I think, and if we all did it, we'd be in a much better situation, is get to know yourself and be happy that that's the way you are. Knowing your frailties as much as you know your strong points.
I think it's very insightful.
The second thing, I suppose, is be completely and utterly honest. I think with yourself, again, in the first instance, and then with other people. As I said, we're all fallible, we can all make mistakes, so just own up to them and face your failures.
Take ownership of the good and the bad.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's natural, it's human to fail as much as it is to be successful. And the learning process, I don't think you learn nearly as much by being successful as you do when you fail.
Oh, absolutely not. I want to fail 10,000 times if I can to get to where you want to go. So, look at the invention of the light bulb. If we would have given up after 9,999, we wouldn't have the light bulb.
Exactly.
So.
Okay. I suppose lastly, it's being nice. If I'm a nice person, you will like me. If you're a nice person, I will like you. And that engenders a really nice sort of microcosm of life. I'll look after you, you look after me, and it's a natural process. It's not unnatural. You can get into an unnatural state of doing it, but just be nice. If you're nice, it'll come round. Karma and all that. What goes round comes round, and that's what I've found over the years, and that's what I like.
Thank you very much. Jim, final words. Any insights or passing comments you want to give to the audience?
Well, just get stuck in, make the most of life. There is no practice, get on with it. So many people look too much to the future and planning and what have you, do not forget the day today that you are in, and get on with that day. With a view to the future, of course, and remembering the past.
Yep.
But get on with the day to day.
Fantastic. Jim, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
A very great pleasure.
Done.
Cheers.
I do. There you go. Thank you very much, Jim.
Well done.